What's the issue? What's the situation here?
Well, there's lots of issues in a football club, Jake. Liverpool have done a decent job, I'd say, trying to lower the age of their team. The likes of Jota coming in, Diaz coming in recent times. Of course, then there's, other youngsters that have either come through the ranks or been bought. But I think that process still needs to happen. I think if you look at the main players in the team, right the way through the team, it's an old team. I think on the first day of the season, the first day of the Premier League season, they had the oldest team, the oldest start in 11. So that just shows where they are. Buying players over the summer, I don't think they've got the budget of the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United, teams like that. I think they blew their budget on one player. Yes, they got some money for Sadio Mane, but they spent that and more on Nunez. I think there was money available, but it would have come out of next season's budget.
Yeah.
And I think they want to be really, really sure when they go in again, they're going to go in with a splash and it's going to be somebody that they want. I think that somebody that they want would be someone like Jude Bellingham, but they're never going to let him go. They've just let Haaland go. Dortmund aren't going to let him go as well. Maybe next summer, and I think they're keeping their powder dry, is my understanding for that.
But that's only one player, and as Zubin Dava says, I've never seen this before, every player seems to be off their game at the same time for Liverpool.
Yeah, and that's a concern. I think that's what Klopp will be sitting there scratching his head about. He said, look, you understand the odd player going off the boil, but to see them all go off the boil the way they have, I would say only probably Alisson, the goalkeeper, has performed consistently to the level that we expect this season. Out of the big players that you expect big performances from, who they've really relied upon in recent seasons. But I think if you just look at today's game in isolation, I think the worrying thing for me is the lack of togetherness. I think we saw Robertson and Klopp speak about the team's performance today, and the two things that came out of their mouth first was a lack of what's the word I was looking for?
Togetherness, you said.
Yeah, not together, but
cohesion.
No, not cohesion, but
unity.
They wasn't compact. They lacked
compactness.
That compactness. That's what he said. Thank you. But so, and you look. I mean, we can have a look at a few of the goals even here, and this is the first one for a penalty. Players coming out of position. Players trying to play the high line. And when you look at that, you see the players running back. Yes, there's players getting back into areas, but they're not doing the jobs. And that's happened on a few occasions this season with the goals. We've seen Newcastle, we've got a centre-back going into the defensive position, but not acting like a centre-back. And so there's little things that are going on in the game that almost sometimes they're not controllables for a manager, because it's decision-making for players as well, what's happening. He can't go on there and make a player run an extra 5 yards. That's got to come from within a player. He can't go in there and say that you have to react. That's my job to help you react. You've got to smell that and see that. You've got to smell danger. Yes, he can instill confidence, he can instill belief.
They have smelt danger and they have done the right things, because this is a team that have been brilliant. I think that's what's difficult for people to grasp, that haven't been in the position you two have been in. How can the same players who've been so good be losing 4-1?
But the best players in the world lose confidence.
Yeah.
And that happens, but that's the
it only happens like that, Jake. You rarely get a team whereby only 5 people are keeping that high standard and the other 5 are rubbish. It always happens. It's all or nothing in football.
Have you played in a team where that
Absolutely, everyone has. When you're going through a bad patch, you'll get 1 or 2 players that are continuing to stay on a level, like the Alissons, like the Diaz at the moment. But if Liverpool stay on this run, you watch Diaz will start, because you surrounded yourself by that. And when they come out of that confidence, everyone will start getting.
What helped you in the teams you were in that went into this? What got you out of this? Like, what does Jurgen need to be doing?
Again, you've got to go back to basics. And when you go into a game, you've got in-game management of understanding where you're at. Now, listen, they both said, Robertson said, they kept getting in. It felt like an extra player. OK, put the brakes on. Let's sit in and let's analyse the game a little bit. Let's let the game come to us. Liverpool are a team that always on the front foot go and get the game. They go and grab the game and take it off the opponent. Sometimes you've got to be a little bit humble and go, actually, we've got to sit, see where we're at. We're getting picked off a little bit. Trent, Andy Robertson, sit in with us. Fabinho, you sit in front now, and then we're going to just say, OK, make it hard for them, break us down. At no point in this game did they say to Napoli, right, you try and break us down now. They kept on allowing and giving the spaces to run into, and they kept allowing them to have that confidence to actually play balls through the middle of the pitch and over the top and behind, because they were allowing and giving them that. When you give teams things in games that will be beneficial and positive for them, these teams ain't shy, they'll take it. And teams like Napoli who are good enough, they will take it and they'll punish you.
So, again, it comes back to why was there not a leader on the pitch sorting that out? Or why did Jurgen Klopp and his assistants on the side not see the problem and get the message on?
It doesn't always happen like that. I mean, I know communication and all these things, but you're playing in a very, very intense, loud atmosphere. I mean, in some stadiums, you'd struggle to hear me if I was shouting at you from here, Jake, honestly. So communication is difficult on a football pitch. A lot of it's body language. And a lot of what Liverpool do, the way they're so successful is that everybody's on a page. You knock one of those dominoes down and it all can fall down. If their press is off, if they're stretched as a team and they're playing a high line and there's no pressure on the ball, everything falls down. It's got to be perfect play. Whereas some teams, you know, a counter-attacking team, they can scrape through games, they can play well some days, play badly some days, but they will always have some form of performance. But when Liverpool play, when it goes wrong for Liverpool, they really get exposed because of the high-risk strategy they play. So when they're low on confidence, that's what's going to happen.
But in past seasons, they've had a Mo Salah, they've had a Mane to actually get them out there. They've had bad performances for sustained periods, 2-3 weeks, 4 or 5 games at times. But then you've got a Salah, you've got a Mane who've been getting them out of them situations and having moments in games that then take the game back. But listen, again, I'm going to repeat that what we said on the show before. They're not a bad team overnight.
Yeah.
They've just got to iron these things out and they've got to ride this patch at the moment. Difficult. We've both been in teams where games have slipped away from you. They've just been dragged away from you quickly in a game and you go, before you know it, you're 2 or 3 down and it's hard to come back and you sit there. I remember Scholes saying to me at Old Trafford against, I think it was City, no more goals now. Sit in and just don't let any more goals in. And that's sometimes you need to have that kind of humility and go, do you know what, we're going to just, this game's gone now. It's too much. They've been too good today, and that's it. But it wasn't in Liverpool's makeup today, and this will be experience I'm sure they'll learn from.
Should we have a look at the second goal quickly? I mean, because it's a bad one from Liverpool's point of view. We'll let it run. Trent heads it back. It's fine. Gomez has 2 opportunities. Really takes 2 strides where he can pass it at both points. I actually think Liverpool get back into a half-decent position as well. I don't think this is the worst position in the world here. We said it on the live show that this is the 4, and then you've got 2 here. You've got a 4 and a 2 against 3 or 4 players. It's not bad. And my problem, I think, overall, lies with this man, Fabinho. I think he's got to act as the central midfield player here. The centre half, and he can't come out here. He can't think he's a midfielder pressing the ball. Stay as the man in the back 4. Let Gomez see it out over there, and I'll play it slowly. You see, he just vacates it. He leaves that back 4, and all of a sudden he's starting to think he's a centre midfielder again. Leaves that big hole, and all of a sudden they're in and they score.
It's a great goal.
Pretty much game over. Great goal.
If you're looking at it from a Napoli's point of view, the way they played football today, they were absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
All over the park. Defenders defending, putting their bodies on the line, and you had midfielders and attackers willing to get on the ball and execute and hurt Liverpool.
Final question before we move on to talk about Tottenham. We're not going to see a Thomas Tuchel situation here, are we? I mean, Jurgen Klopp has enough credit in the bank.
No chance. No chance. But we are part of a wonderful, wacky game. So who knows when we wake up in the morning what could happen?
Not a chance.
Not happening, is it?
No chance.